Okay, everybody. Okay, now we can see the chat. Merci, merci. Okay, let's make sure that we are live. I've got restream read. Okay, now I don't know if what I'm seeing 1533. No. Okay, start talking, Rhonda.
I'll check Facebook on my phone to see if we're live.
Hello, hello, hello,
Hello?
Anita Five. Hello. Jeez. Okay, so we're on, Rhonda,
We are?
and
Okay. Hi,
we
everybody.
are. Okay, we're just trying to reorganize everyone because we were supposed to have Dr. Byron Bridle and also Dr. Bonnie Mallard and also Dr. Paul Alexander. And unfortunately, we've had sort of technical difficulties getting together. We were supposed to be on at 8 and then we waited, but guaranteed we'll be able to reschedule with the doctors. So something must have come up, and hey, we're here. Live transcription enable. Okay, there we go. So, anyways, the reason we want to still come on and to speak with you is it was about our human rights. Okay, and in regards, excuse me, to what is happening across Canada with these mandates or trying to pressure the employers or the businesses to force us into having to accept this vaccination, which is totally wrong, or the injection. We were able to get some pretty good information today, and try and post that on our website, in our forum. So we're trying to catch up with everybody. A lot of people are calling us, contacting us, asking for help. And what we can do is, as much as we can do is actually contact some of these organizations as we did, and we're going to keep sending them more information to show them that even if they, try to pressure everybody, they'll only end up in court and hurting themselves and their companies. So, the word is out there. Do not quit your job. Let them force you out if they have to, and then that way, this is what the lawyers are saying, that you'll be able to sue. So do not quit your job. Okay.
Every employment lawyer that we have talked to states that. They say, do not give up your rights. Do not give up your what you are entitled to. And if you quit your job, you have no recourse to go back and ask for a package or to be part of any type of class action, anything, if you quit your job, because you have quit. You've admitted that your employer's done nothing wrong at that point. You may feel pressured and all that kind of stuff, but your employer at that point has done absolutely nothing wrong. So
Yeah, exactly. So it's really important that you find out. I've made quite a few posts today in regards to your rights and the fact that the Human Rights Code, okay, and the Charter, all supersede all laws in Canada. So they can't. I know some of the lawyers are saying that yes, the employers can force you or can say that they want you to be vaccinated, but at the same time, they have to follow human rights law. Okay, and we've even seen one teacher, a law professor, which I'm totally appalled with. Saying that, the private law, they don't have to they don't have to follow the charter. Only the federal government has to. No, that's not right. And we've seen that by the documents of the Supreme Court of Canada that I've posted for you tonight. So please print those out. Keep them with you wherever you go. If anybody tries to harass you, show them the documents. It's the most that we can, um, that we can assist you with right now. We're not lawyers. We're a union for the Canadian citizens in regards to our political and civil rights. So we're a political and civil rights union. And that's to bring back our collective rights to the people, because what's going on right now should never, ever have happened. And it wouldn't have happened if the Canadian government did not keep stealing our rights in 1931 and then in 1982. Okay, so there was a coup d'etat in 1982 by Pierre Elliott Trudeau and all of the premiers of Canada. Okay, and they were supposed to hand over our rights to us by law, international law, through the law of decolonization from colonial systems. So we're still stuck in that type of colonial system. They just reworded it right, and what they did is they gave our rights to themselves without talking to the people and without protecting us against them. And this is the tyranny that we're seeing today. So the revolution is in your hands. All we can do is unite, stand together in our rights to self-determination together as a collective. So do you want to add something, Rhonda?
No, you're doing a great job. That's exactly what the Canadian People's Union is all about. And that's why the Canadian People's Union, Nicole doesn't toot her own horn enough. She's been at this since before 2008, researching. She used to, her background. I'm going to just tout a little bit about your background, Nicole. Nicole's background is that of a medical researcher. And when she started researching into how our legislation and acts and regulations and all of that affected the healthcare industry, she was in the middle of starting a fairly revolutionary approach to cancer treatment in, was it Quebec or Ontario where it was going to be built?
In Quebec. It was in Montreal, and it was it was all based on infection controlled environments for end of life treatment and proton therapy.
And so it was very revolutionary, and they had backers, and Nicole was brought in to do all the research. She was the researcher that put everything together for this. And so there was financial backers, there was all this, they were getting ready to go. And then the shoe dropped on quality, how they could have quality of food, quality of what was it, Nicole? It was one of the major components.
Well, we had to have food safety and their air quality as well, and make sure that everybody was able to be versed in infection controlled environments and to clean the equipment and everything else. We were making sure it was actually an education system that I had put together for, and also for assisted living places and seniors' homes.
Yeah,
so it was
like
a whole technical thing.
Yeah, it was a whole community environment. She sent me the thing and I read it and I was just, oh, this would be so wonderful because you're treated as a whole instead of just this, say, go home, come back, go home, come back. So anyway, what happened is legislation changed, and all of a sudden, for some of the backers, they weren't confident that they would be able to deliver the type of product that they were promising because of the change in legislation. And that's what led Nicole down to this path of finding out what's really going on. And as she researched more and more and more, she went down that rabbit hole more and more and more, and realized that there's some fundamental problems with how our governance is structured and how these decisions are made. They're not made based on our needs or wants or on what truly is proper and right. They're made based on heavy lobbying. They're not, so if you have enough money, if you're part of a group or have a company and you have it personally, or your company or whatever has enough finances to spend it on lobbying, you can get the government to do basically anything you want. Who can't get the government to do anything they want? Us. People that aren't spending money on lobbying, or aren't even special interest groups get money from these organizations to lobby. Every change that comes about in government is because someone has paid for it to be lobbied inside government, both federally and provincially. None of it is because of what the people are asking for.
Yeah. And the thing is the hospital project that I was working on was also based. It was better than private and better than public, because the whole system kind of it had a life of its own, and it would give back to the community and the employees. Mm-hmm. Okay, and everything was charged back to the government.
And it was self-monitoring. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was about proton therapy, which is laser therapy, and it's not invasive. It would take, well, they'd be in and out of, we would have been able to treat 500 people a day. And it only takes 10 minutes in and out of there 1 minute to a minute and a half to for the treatment to happen, and then no radiation is left in the room. So it was pretty phenomenal. It's, if you want to look at it, it's Loma Linda University Hospital. I saw it back in January to, I think, 2007. And then we had the crash of 2008. So that's when everything kind of dwindled to nothing. And I was supposed to wait and see what happened with the investors. Um, but then I came to Six Nations because I saw that they weren't the amount of money the hospitals make is unbelievable.
And it's all private. It's all,
Unbelievable.
people don't realize how much of our hospital, how much of our provincial hospital, because our hospital system across Canada is run by each province individually in a silo. There's this underlying federally for purchasing, and that's about it. Everything else is provincial, and inside the province, corporations that own the majority of our healthcare. It's our healthcare is privatized, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah, and the fees out of that were just astronomical. And the thing is in the business plan, if I were to show you the business plan, it was pretty amazing. And I mean, I had Rita DeSantis that was looking at the file, and I was actually called in by Lucien Bouchard in Quebec, who actually heard about what I was doing and asked me to come in and meet Rita DeSantis because she had a background in biochemistry. So, anyways, we met, and I thought she was terrific. And she thought I was a genius. I said, well, no, you just need somebody to connect the dots and put everything together, and then you've got a plan, which is the same thing we're doing here with the Convention of Consent, and to be able to bring the people in our power, because without that, we have nothing. And this is what I noticed throughout that whole entire thing, was that billions of dollars were going out of our pockets into, and then they were saying, well, we only have so much budget. Well, excuse me, that's because you're giving it all off to the board of directors or whoever else you're paying, and you're not giving it back to the people. And then they're shortchanging us on services. A lot of people say, oh, you're lucky in Canada, you got great services. Well, excuse me, we could have a hell of a lot better than that
If you go
for a lot less money.
If you go to actual world reporting on healthcare, Canada is ranked among the lowest, not the highest. No. We are barely above the US. I think the US is pretty much one of the only countries we rank above now, which is bizarre when you think about it. How here in North America, the two countries, the US and Canada, were supposed to be at the forefront of all medical, all everything, and here we are. We have these multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar producing industries that are so poorly run, they don't even give the services they promise. Like, it's just bizarre. It's bizarre. Where does the money go?
I mean, Rhonda, when you look at Cuba, okay, and the stuff they can get there and the quality, I mean, I remember watching, because, this hospital I was building, I was watching surgeries through, on video, and how they were going inside the body and everything, and how they could hammer a kidney stone and relieve people of kidney diseases. And like, I was just floored. Oh my God, this is great. This is great. And I thought, okay, we're going to be able to save so many people. And then my whole world came crashing down with H1N1 when I saw what they were putting in there. And I thought, wow, something's not right. And that's when I came to Six Nations and started working on, because I figured it doesn't matter. I mean, that hospital was my dream. Their nursing homes was my dream. They were my babies. I could see myself living in there myself and never coming out, because I love the proton machine so much. And it was just phenomenal to see that what it could do without hurting people with chemo and everything else. And that, they could go in there 10 minutes, go to school, they're in and out within 10 minutes, go to school, go to work, go golfing. At Loma Linda, everybody goes off and plays golf and whatever, sightseeing. Mind you, at the time, to be able to eliminate prostate cancer forever Okay. My stepdad had gotten 6 operations for prostate cancer. How much would we charge for that? Minimum of $60,000 every second time he went. So imagine the amount of money that we spend in Canada when they could go to Loma Linda for $41,000, $1,000 a treatment, apart from their expenses to live in a hotel or whatever, and their golf games, uh, and they're cancer free. And I met a gentleman who actually got the treatment himself, which was he was also helping me with the hospital project. And what was his name? Dean Leslie Dean Price, and he was actually Buckminster Fuller's buddy. So all of this was really amazing for me because of, oh my God, all these people, and they were interested. Leslie Dean Price, 85 years old, writing to me at 3 o'clock in the morning, and by blocks, and he was all excited about what we were doing, and he wanted to come and help, and then all this happened, and then everything went to
Okay.
hell. No, so
So this all ties back into our the legislation that we're talking about today, actually, that affects our government or us today, which is our at the federal level, our human rights, our health rights, our health acts, our privacy acts, our we've got a whole what you're going to see on the website, and I'm starting to layer it in tonight, is this menu of information for people that has all of the health acts for every province, all of our medical acts, like our the genetic reproduction act, all of these different acts that affect us individually and collectively, and then the human rights acts for every province, the health acts for every province. Every province has a different health act. So
yeah.
the one Nicole put up today, I noticed people were commenting, where's the one for this province? Where's the one for that province? Where's this? Where's that? Where's this? Where's that? Every province is almost the same, and just a little bit different. So they've sort of, and they all use the Federal Health Act. So likewise for provincial ombudsman and the federal ombudsman, the governor general and the lieutenant governors in every province, the privacy commissioners, the privacy commissioner federally, and then the privacy commissioners in every province, and then the labor board federally and the labor board in every province. They're all there's these two tiers, and one tier deals with one specific set of issues, and the other tier deals with the one that's closer to home, right? And that's what we're layering in, so that you guys, when you're putting information together for your employer, you can pick and choose like a menu, which different items that you want to use to tell your employer about what your rights are, and you can then have the right one for your province. We're seeing a lot of things online right now about these blanket things to hand your employer, to ask them, all of this information if they're demanding that you get these mandatory injections. And yes, you can do that, but just none of it is about your rights. It's all about, prove to me that this is necessary. Well, your employer doesn't have to prove that. Your employer only cannot step on your rights. That's it. That is the bottom line there. Your employer doesn't have to prove whether they're necessary or not. Your employer has to make sure that they're not stepping on your rights, period. That's it. That's the end of it. Employers have to, like, occupational health and safety exists for a reason, and no occupational health and safety legislation goes into what you must do personally to your body as a medical procedure in order for your workplace to be safe. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, and why is that? It's because no medical procedure that you do to yourself will make anybody else safe. It just doesn't work that. So we are that's what we're getting into. and it'll be rolled out, and it's going to be in the forum section of our website. I keep saying our forum section because we don't want to create a whole bunch of different pages for this. We want it to be in one spot where people can then have discussions about each thing and discuss, okay, I tried this, it didn't work, oh, I needed to word it this way. We've got to learn from each other. No one here has all of the answers, not even the lawyers. So if we don't start building a hub for us to give feedback for and information about and all of that, we are going to be doing this over, and we're going to be reinventing the wheel every time our government does something to us. And we want to stop that. So how do we stop that? We have a hub, a resource hub that everybody can use. And it's one that's created by community. It's not people coming in and telling you what you have to do or what you can do. It is created by all of us together as a collective. And it's about our rights. It's about facts. So the monitors of the hub, the administrators and monitors of the hub will remove stuff that we know is not factual, that is fake news, that has no bearing in Canada, that is not about our rights, that is not about, so we'll just remove all of that level that we constantly are bombarded with on social media. Just won't exist in this. Well, it may exist for a bit until we get to it and remove it, but it won't be allowed to exist. This is where reality is. It's not where pie in the sky stuff is. And likewise, we want to have conversations around the convention of consent that we're doing under the PowerShift. A lot of people are confused about what it is. And it really is a legal document that only becomes a legal document once we have enough people that have said they want their collective right to their collective civil and political right to self-determine and to be able to self-govern. And what that means is to have the right to say no to the government, to be one of the final decision makers of what happens with our legislation, our policies, our acts, all of that stuff that people for decades have thought elections were about. They bring up these things that they're going to be working on, and we think, okay, we're voting for this person because that's the policy that we want changed. And so they're going to change that, and it never happens. And there's no way for us to hold them accountable, or it happens, and it happens in a way that is exactly the opposite of what they've said. For example, legislation around legalizing marijuana in Canada. People were so excited about that in 2015. Like, he won based on, I know so many people that voted based on that because they use it as a medicinal, like they're using it for chronic illnesses, right? So what happened though is they delegalized it, like they made it legal for you to grow 4 plants if it can't be seen by anybody in the public. They made it legal for you to be able to purchase it. However, if you're found with like, let's say you're going on a trip and you've got to bring enough for you to make the trip. If you're found with more than a certain amount on you, they didn't decriminalize it. So you are still charged as being a trafficker. So what good does that do us? What good? Why did they not remove the other side of it? And nowhere do people realize that, and at no time since 2015 have they addressed that. It's still, you can still be charged, you can still have a criminal charge because you brought too much CBD, THC oil with you on your trip. Like, it's bizarre. So
yeah, but there's a lot of that going on, Rhonda. Like, a lot of the acts and the criminal code overlap. And this is why, as long as the Canadian citizens do not challenge that in court, the government can get away with anything that they create. Okay, it's not up to the judges to say, "Oh, that law is no good." The attorney general is supposed to go to them, to the judges, and say, "Can you look at this?" And get all the legal eagles in there and say, "Okay, are we safe? Are we safe?" But if there's something they miss or they rush through something, they can pass a law, get royal assent for it, and unless you challenge it, it's going to stay, even though it doesn't. It's unconstitutional.
And that's how they tell us we have democracy. That's another reason they tell us we have democracy, is we can challenge any one of our laws and legislation in court. However, we shouldn't have to challenge in court. We should be able to challenge in parliament. We shouldn't have to challenge at the court level. And that's what the Convention of Consent fixes, is that we're not left to the nth hour or after everything's already done trying to fix it. We can fix it before it ever gets royal assent. That's what the Convention of Consent does. It allows the people to have a collective voice before royal assent is given, because guess who gives final approval? The people.
Yeah.
On any major issue that affects us, we're the ones that give royal assent, not a bunch of politicians, like 338 politicians inside of that have been heavily lobbied by organizations that don't want the people to have certain things, because then they don't make as much money.
Yeah, exactly. So if the people realize, if everybody realized that you are a shareholder, co-owner of the Crown Corporation of Canada, the biggest business in this country, everything that every car that is owned in Canada, every house, that belongs to the country itself, and that goes into our pot. Okay, that pot is supposed to be ours, not the government's. The government doesn't own the country. The government doesn't own our accounts. Those are ours, and that's why, we can go and sue the government. But who are we suing? We're suing ourselves. We don't care. We're suing ourselves. So we need to be smart about this. When they were calling about, talk about the RIC and all this, the right to have referendums. Well, excuse me, but a lot of those referendums are plebiscites, and they're not even legal to begin with, or the government doesn't even have to accept what you say. Let's say a big majority says no and the government says yes. The government can say yes anyway because they have final decision-making authority. That's the bottom line. So they're taking over because we vote for them. We give away our power to them for 4 years, no questions asked. No security for us against anything that they might want to do. And to put us in dire straits the way they have been since, the whole plan really launched in the 1970s to bring us to a world governance. And we're here. They've done everything. Right now, they're trying to destroy our Constitution. And if we do not protect that Constitution, a lot of people say, oh, that Constitution is no good. No, it is good, depending on who controls it.
What do we need with our Constitution? We need this. We need a revolution to remove what's no longer working, because that's what revolutions do. They don't destroy. They basically just remove what's no longer working, and then you massage the system, or move the system, or change the system to what will work for you and will grow with you and stuff like that. Revolutions usually come about because the system that's being used in a country hasn't grown with the people, hasn't grown with what's needed. And that's what we're finding in Canada. Our Constitution was supposed to be, we were lied to in 1982. Our Constitution was supposed to be a living document that evolved and grew as we did, as the country grew, as the people grew, as the people's needs grew, and all of that. The people were supposed to own the Constitution. And so there were supposed to be amendments, there were supposed to be changes, there were supposed to be all of these things with the Constitution was supposed to happen. And instead it became this document that couldn't be touched. And that's the problem. That's the problem with our Constitution. It's not the fact that it exists. Everybody back in 1867 voted on it, that was eligible to vote at the time, voted on it. And that's why we have the Constitution we have today. And that it was amended in 1982. There is a whole second section of it that that's what 1982 is about, but it's still our whole constitution. It's never, and the fact that people have not stood up and said, hey, we want our constitution to be that living document that we were promised it would be, that where we get to decide and where we get to have an input, active input into things, not active as in we have to hire for millions of dollars lobby companies to lobby you for our rights. That's what it's come to. But that's never what the intent. That was never what was supposed to happen. That's at least that what we were told, right? Now, one thing that we found out, Nicole and I, from researching what happened with the Canada Bill over in the UK, where it was approved, that our constitution has never been approved on Canadian soil. It's only ever been approved in the UK. So in 1981, the Canada Bill went over to the UK to discuss, and we found out that what they discussed over in the UK was very, very different than what the media were telling the people, than what telling the people, than what our federal government was telling the people. Very, very different. It's almost like you're looking at two totally different things. And the UK, the Parliament at the time, created a commission to study our Canada Bill, and it is not good.
Yeah. Hey, Rhonda, I just wanted to make sure that we get in here because I'm seeing some of the replies here. And the thing is we have a gentleman here who's trying to get himself added to everybody. Please be very careful. Do not allow them to add you. If they're saying that they're trying to add you, but they can't, there's a reason why they can't. So we need to kick that person out of our chat.
Okay, just a second. I can you take over and I'll deal with this, Nicole.
Okay. And the thing is when please do not insult us by adding things that have nothing to do or waste our time with things that have nothing to do with your total freedom and having your name as a collective owner on our Constitution. Anything less than that, we do not accept. And we do not accept giving away our rights to politicians until we can have the power over them as employees of the Crown only, without final decision-making authority. So anytime that we're going to see you advertise a certain political party, we're going to remove it. Rhonda, it's been going by. I'm just tired of working and working and working, and people use and abuse. They come and get our information and then try to undo everything that we're trying to do to save the Canadian citizens and our country. And I've had it up just about up to here with people who are actually disrespectful of what we do. We're not getting paid for this. No government gives us money for this. Everything is done from the goodness of our hearts. And we're not going to stand for political parties trying to take people coming over to try to hijack the conversation where we're trying to teach people something. Every time you vote for a politician, you give away your rights. I don't care if it's the PPC or anybody else. You need to look at who these people are, what their history was, and how far they go back kissing the ass of the Bush family. Okay? If you've got a leader that's connected to in any way, shape, or form to that, run. You got to remember, you got to look at history. You can't just say, Trudeau out, we'll just vote anybody in. You know why? Because they keep continuing the agenda. If you look at the IDU.org, you will look at go to the history. I've posted that today. You all need to start taking care of your responsibility as shareholders and co-owners of the Crown Corporation of Canada, or kiss it goodbye and all of your freedom. And then by being with people not wanting to take care of their responsibilities, to protect their children at no matter what the cost, we're going to lose this country very shortly. We're talking a month to 2 months from now. This is how fast this is going. Right now, as long as there's we need to stop the elections. We need to allow the time for the people to realize what's going on and, to get together and make sure that these politicians can no longer take advantage of us like they have right now. No, they want to talk about all kinds of things. Okay, I'll tell you right now, most of the people already know because of the IDU.org who's coming in the next election. And if it's the PPC, well, I'd have to wonder about a controlled opposition because these people are always tied together no matter what. I don't care if they say they've changed or they're trying to do something else. Once they're stuck in there, after you've watched what's been happening since the 1960s in Canada, or even prior to that, you'll be amazed because our representative system of democracy right now was a coup d'etat from 1922. To be able to take away the power and pretend that it was coming into the hands of the people and that, oh, we're just keeping the queen, but she's got no power. True. But at the same time, Canada was left with a small tie to the UK so that we couldn't get our power, that our great grandparents couldn't get their power, when by law we should have. Representative democracy is a coup d'etat against your political rights, against our rights to own this country, the corporation anyway, and then to share the land with the nations. And if we don't change this, it'll never change. This is our golden opportunity, people. We have enough proof that this whole scam, this, I won't even say the word in case we get blocked, but this whole charade since March of 2020 was a scam. It's all has to do, again, yes, with Bill Gates and his cronies and the rise of the Fourth Reich behind the World Economic Forum. So, we need to save the people everywhere. Israel, I mean, these people are the most attacked right now. Wonder why? Hitler never died. He just expanded his old territory through the United States. So, these can be wild things, but hey, we need to protect the people. To hell with the politicians right now, they can wait. We need to put a stop to the elections immediately and take our rights. If you don't understand that, we'll never get anywhere.
So now when we say that, everybody goes, how do I do that? What do I do? How do I do that? First thing you do, exactly. That's free now on our website. If you go to our website, the main page, there's a link to it says free PowerShift ebook. You click on that and it's going to take you to either, and if you're on the English website, it's going to take you to the English version. If you're on the French website, it's going to take you to the French version. Now, how do you know what website you're on? Up in the top left-hand corner of the website is this little red button that says EN. And if you click on the arrow, it displays FN. So EN English or FN French. You can toggle to each of those.
FR.
Or FR, sorry. FR. Thank you.
FM channel? Are you sending them to do we have a new radio station, Rhonda?
I've been in website hell for too long. So anyway, it says FR. So you can write it on our website. You can toggle. If you don't like doing that, if that's too confusing, type in FR period before the PowerShift.ca and you'll be taken to the French version, or LE PowerShift.ca will take you to the French version. So it's all tied together. You should be able to, if you land on whichever version, you can get to the other one through that little red button on the top left-hand corner of the website. And it's also on your phone. It'll be the top left-hand corner of your phone on the top of the phone and the top menu. So we tried to make our website as bilingual as possible. And there's certain sections that we don't rely on Google Translate for. And that's why we have separate pages for certain things. So it's a nightmare. Let me tell you, as someone who looks after the back end of the website, it is a nightmare, but we do it because people keep asking for that. And we recognize that Canada does have 2 official languages. And so we make sure we're covering both of them as much as we can, as much as humanly possible. We do it. We don't have any control what other people produce and what we share, but what we do, we try our best. Everything that you see on behind me, everything on our when you're going out and getting, we created a merchandise store, not for merchandise. We created it so people would have a place to buy banners and things to hold up when they're out protesting. And it was just, we couldn't find a way to get it out to people. So we thought, okay, we'll just create this store. And then it sort of grew. We'll put mugs in there. We'll have t-shirts and stuff like that, because people want that stuff to wear when they're out anyway. We kept getting asked. So we just created it, and everything on there is bilingual. You can get it in French or English. So it's, we've all our logos, French or English. Like, we tried very, very hard to cover both sides without one side being too dominant. You know, it's been difficult. It's been a challenge, and it creates, like, you think it doesn't take any extra once you've already created, but really it creates twice the work and sometimes 3 times the work because of translation. So anyway, that's my little blurb on that. So how do we do this? So back to the whole thing about, so we want our rights. We want to stop the election. Well, we really want to elect ourselves, right? We're not politicians or anything, but we want the people of Canada to vote for themselves. And how do you do that? You sign your convention of consent. When it comes to our actual political elections that are happening in Canada right now, the federal elections, it really does not matter if you vote or not. If you are passionate about voting, vote. And you shouldn't be asking people, who do I vote for? Figure it out.
No. But the whole point, I'm going to stop you right there, though, Rhonda. Just tell people, go ahead and vote is only if we fail at stopping the election.
Exactly. So first of all, vote for yourself by signing the convention of consent. Get everybody you know to sign it. Because once we get to 3% of Canada, of how many were elected, there were only 12,000 voters, almost 13,000 voters last election. Once we get to 3% of that, we should be able to do a court challenge that is undeniable, because the government themselves changes legislation where they're supposed to actually have a referendum. They change legislation based on surveys to the public that are controlled, with 1,500 voices across Canada. That's it. In my province is always amalgamated with Manitoba for these things. And so 250 people in Manitoba and Saskatchewan speak for everybody in government surveys, where they are going to be changing policy, or where they are going to be changing legislation, or where they're going to be changing whatever. And it's not just any 250 people, it's the first 250 people that get there to reply.
Yeah.
Because once it's filled, and it's that way across Canada for all of these types of surveys. And they only go with, it's a representation. They use a certain percentage of representation. And for whatever reason, the magic number for Canada is a little over 1,500 people across Canada. And then the government turns around and uses these to change laws, legislations, all of that. They've done that for the P3s. They've done that for how our federal accounting system is done. They've done that for how many things, Nicole, that we found that they've done that for. It's just insane.
It's the amount of things that we have discovered is so overwhelming that poor Pierrette has got to take a couple of days off, because just looking at what's happening in Quebec, they've incorporated all of our rivers and lakes and, natural resources. We will, they're doing it so that there'll be no more borders anywhere, and we'll be stuck inside our cities. They're going to zero emissions, which means a bicycle for everyone. And if you remember, COP21 was about that, a bicycle for everyone. You will not be able to leave to go past your neighborhoods. This is what's coming. Is this what you want for your children? Is this what you want for your children? So
the next generations.
Seven generations. But you need to pick people, the citizens and our rights, or a politician. It's them or us.
And it always has been. We've just believed the lies for so long that they work for us. They don't work for us. They never have, and they never will. The only people that truly work for us are those that are running as independent, and they only work for us as long as they stay independent. If they get voted in as an independent and then join a political party later, they're no longer independent. They now work for that political party.
Yeah.
Our politics and our politics worldwide are so corrupt. Political parties worldwide are so corrupt. And people still blindly think that they work for them.
Yeah. And the thing is when you're looking at what our future can be, there's so much hope there. There's so much potential because all of our assets, all of the money that's been created with our natural resources and human resources in Canada is going out of the country, and then we're stuck footing the bill through taxation. We should be getting dividends. You are richer and more powerful than you know. You are richer and more powerful than you know. And nothing in law supersedes the will of the people. We have everything we need to be able to get this done, except for the people. And if the people still remain wanting to look for one savior instead of doing their due diligence and, finally helping us to run this country the way it's supposed to be together as a collective, being the final decision makers and making sure that everybody prospers together equally.
Canadians
It
and
can be
Indigenous
done.
people together.
Yeah.
Canadians and Indigenous people together. We need to be working together. We need to be in our parliament together. I've always thought our Canadian parliament was very strange in the sense that Indigenous people are not represented in our parliament. It's odd, very odd. And when they were forced to recognize them, when our government was forced to recognize them, they didn't include them in our existing governance. They created a whole separate governance system that they still control. It's just crazy what they did. Crazy.
But here I'm looking at somebody who was saying, we should be running for office. No, we can't. You know why we can't run for office? Because once you run for office, if you look at all the legalities within the Elections Act and then the rules of Parliament, you can't think that you're going to win and go and change how Parliament works. There are rules of Parliament.
Exactly. The time we run for office is once the collective citizens and Indigenous people together are in the head of state position in our Constitution. That's when citizens run for office en masse.
Until I want to be on the winning side, right, Rhonda? The people side.
Exactly. Exactly. And once you enter into once you sign, once you're elected in and you sign and all of that, that's it. You are signing a contract stating that you will not change how the system operates.
Yeah.
Even if you run as an independent, you can get more work done for your people, but you can't change the system. And the system is what really needs to change.
Right.
And so how do we do that? We do that by changing the head of state, what governs the system. And because what governs the system was always supposed to be from 1931, 1960, 1982, it was supposed to be the people. And the people were never put in because they kept telling us we were not ready. So again, I'm going to just roll this back because we have not yet answered this correctly, or I don't think succinctly enough for people, because we keep going off in our little, because sorry folks, we have researched this to the nth degree. And so we tend to get very wordy because we go off on things that we think are important at the time. And so the question was, how do we do this? How are we going to do this? Well, first of all, you vote for yourself and you get everybody you know to vote for themselves by signing their convention of consent. It's all online. There is a tutorial right online with the convention of consent. It's a 7-minute tutorial that shows you exactly how to fill it in, because some people are confused with how to fill things in online. So I went in and I did a tutorial that goes step by step by step by step, shows every form, every section of the form that needs to be filled in. Unfortunately, I only know English. It's in English. France did one in French as well. I have to say I haven't listened to it yet because I don't understand French. But you can, I believe the information, because we're using screenshots and showing screens and stuff like that, the information is actually interchangeable. You should be able to get an understanding of how to do it through either video. Those videos are directly on our main screen of our website, on our main page of our website. The very first box that comes up, box number 1, inside that is a video. That's the tutorial. if you're having an issue signing it, if you're not sure how to sign it, just take a few minutes and watch that tutorial. It'll show you exactly where you're going wrong, or it'll help you to sign it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Then
And
once you've signed your convention of consent and we have enough people signing, people keep asking us how many have signed, how many have signed, how many have signed, how many have signed, how many have signed. You
don't
know what?
matter.
We don't do a daily count because it's impossible to keep track of. We are getting on what, 200 a day now? 200 every time we
Yeah.
do a push like
Yeah.
this, we end up with about 200, and then it falls off again, and then we do another push and we get up to that 200 a day, and then it falls off again. It is a hard slog, folks. People say they're going to do it, they don't. People are hesitant to do it because the wording is legal, because it'll eventually turn into a legal document. So we get that it's confusing. We do get that, and we're trying to fix that, but we can't make it the wording on, we can't change the actual wording on the document, because it's going to turn into something that we don't have to give all of your information. Like, it's not a petition. So what happens at the end of the day is none of your personal information is ever handed over. All that's handed over is information that says this many people have signed across Canada saying they want their rights. And then the Supreme Court judges can ask to audit what we've done. And what we will do is we will send them a random sampling of, so that they can confirm that, yes, they're a Canadian citizen, yes, they're an Indigenous person, yes, it's a valid signature, to make sure that to test the validity of that we've got
Yeah.
X amount of
But all
signatures.
that is highly confidential, and the government doesn't
Exactly.
see it.
That it's not handed over like a petition. It's not handed, none of your information is ever handed over. It
No.
is an agreement between you and everybody else that signs, and that's it. And we don't even share who signs, ever. If you want to personally say you've signed, that's fantastic. I've signed, of course. All of my family has signed, but you don't need to say that in the public at all, because it's, again, your right to privacy, right?
Yeah.
We do need that 3% of 12 million at least signing, so that we're well above what's needed. And we have how many now, Nicole? Like a round figure, just a ballpark round
I'm not
figure.
even saying it.
Okay, so it's not important who signed and how many have signed. What's important is people keep signing. And
Yeah,
that's,
because the bottom line, what people need to know is that we're not even close enough. We might have 60,000 people share one of our videos, and with every share, we should have at least one signature, and we're not even close to that.
yeah.
So the thing is though, it can change overnight. And how many do we really need? 1,000 to go to the Supreme Court and challenge the ones that Trudeau did for the P3s? Or do we need 30,000? Or do we need 300,000 or 3 million? I would like to at least have 7 million, which was more than what Trudeau got in with the
Yeah, he got in
Liberals.
with 6.4 million voted for him in the last election, or something like that. So if we had that many, now that is, we don't need that many, but if we
It
had
was
that
only
many,
29%.
yeah, of the people that voted, yeah, yeah. So it's bizarre. Like, we don't need huge numbers, but we do need numbers. We need people. And let's face it, if you don't want your right to self-determine and self-governance, then don't sign. It's that easy. If you don't want your right to hold government accountable to things that they do that are corrupt, and to automatically remove them should they be proven to not be honest or not be working on our behalf, then don't sign. That's, if you want things to remain the way they are, don't sign. If you want to constantly be fighting the government with court injunctions and court battles because they're taking away your rights, don't sign.
Yeah. But the thing is you have to realize that you're making a choice for your future. If you want more of what's going on here, there's nobody right now in politics. I know that there's some that are trying right now, their heart's in the right place. But until they realize that, until the people until we get our rights to to get our collective political and civil rights in order and have protection, they're not doing us a favor by trying to get us to vote instead. They're
Exactly.
actually defeating the purpose. So if they're true to their words, they're true politicians, they will want to sign their convention as well, because they too are shareholders of the Crown of Canada equally with each citizen. And then somebody asked, is this just for Indigenous? No, this is
No,
for Canadian citizens in our system, because we need to fix our system. But we agreed to honor the treaties, and then even the Indigenous peoples can sign that too, because they consent to this, because we need to come together in our Constitution. It's already kind of
we
set
need to
up that way,
quit.
but it needs to be done better for their
Yeah.
rights.
Yeah, we need to quit operating in two separate silos. We all need to work together. It's the silo system that the government has us in, these, and they do this on purpose. Our provinces are silos, our Indigenous people, even, and I know people slag on Quebec a lot, but Quebec has been operating in its own silo quite happily because the government has allowed it from day one. Quebec and Ontario
Yeah.
created Canada. The two family compacts, one in Quebec and one in Ontario, created Canada. And that's why Quebec and Ontario have always been so strong. And that's why they really are our government. Like, the rest of Canada is pretty much an afterthought outside
Yeah.
of Quebec and Ontario.
Yeah, so we have Pina, who's asking for us to contact, or somebody wants to help with a referendum. What we're doing is not really a referendum. What you are signing is a legally binding contract between each citizen that signs that agrees with the other citizens who have signed to go and to initiate our rights to self-determination through our political and civil rights. Okay?
It's referendum like, but we can't
but not.
call it that. We can't call it that because it's not being, we're
No,
relying
you're
on
not saying.
grassroots.
See, a referendum, it's a yes or no question. This is not a yes or no question. You sign or you don't sign. When you sign, it's to say, yes, you want your rights with everybody else. You want to be recognized as a shareholder, co-owner of the Crown of Canada, sitting on top of our government officials who are only our employees. They are supposed to be our civil servants. And we decide what they can decide, what they can do and what they can't do. But we don't need to trash the whole governing system, because I'll tell you, when the political parties leave, that government still runs. It's everybody who's under contract within the government system that is running that government, not
It's
the
not who we
politicians.
elect. It's not who we elect. It's that underlying system. You know what? In fact, if they wanted to prolong elections for a year, 2 years, and the government ran like our system right now ran with no actually elected officials for 2 years, our government wouldn't change. Everything would run tickety boo. Everything would be just fine. Everything would run. Our officials are there to discuss policies, to discuss. Yeah, exactly.
To distract.
So that's why there is all of yeah, it's a rabbit hole that once you start going down, something we really should be taught from probably about grade 4 all the way to grade 12, how our governance works, because it's that much information there that it could be a full course for that many years of school. And only then would you have a glimmer of an understanding about how our political system and our system, our whole government operates. Canada now has, we've tipped the scales between private and public employees. We now have far more public employees, private employees in Canada. So it's just, so anyway, getting back to, my internet access must be just a little wonky right now. Yeah, it's almost o'clock here. Yeah. Okay. So what happens with this convention of consent? Just again, like Nicole said, we would love to be able to call it a referendum, but we can't, because a referendum is a yes, no question. In a sense, you're saying yes when you sign it and no if you don't sign it, but we can't actually say that. we can say it in these videos as a way of explaining it, but we can't publicly promote like that. Can only publicly promote it as, sign it for your right, sign it because you want what everybody else that's signing it is doing. It's unifying everybody who is signing together. That's what it's doing.
Yeah. And it's
The Canadian People's Union,
okay.
I'm just going to stop here. The Canadian People's Union is not a labor union. It is a union. It's not an employment union. It is a union for your rights, for the collective rights of every citizen in Canada. And why are Indigenous not? Indigenous already have the right to self-determine and self-govern. They have that right. We don't.
But the government didn't give it to them properly.
No, and that's what the Convention of Consent fixes. So the CPU and created the PowerShift, which is the Convention of Consent, along with a couple of other, like, read the book, the ebook. It explains it all in there. That's what was created by the Canadian People's Union. And it was created to fix what's going on. So it's about getting informed citizens involved across Canada, so that we're constantly on top, so that we're not always behind the 8 ball when it comes to our government, so that we're not we rely too heavily on our media to provide us with information in this country, and we know our media do not do it. They have never done. People say, oh yeah, they've been bought off and all that kind of stuff. The reality is they have never done a good job about this, because that's not their job. Ultimately, it's our job to educate ourselves in order to make decisions for ourselves and how we are governed and what policies are put in place and all of that. We have just become the laziest society when it comes to our rights in the world.
Yeah.
Because we have let everybody else do it for us.
Yeah, and it's very important. Somebody is just asking, I'm able to see what's going on in the chat there.
Good,
and this has nothing, signing the Convention of Consent is, nobody is sovereign by themselves here in Canada, okay? You're not a sovereign citizen. The sovereignty belongs to the ones who own the corporation, own the land, okay? So as far as being sovereign by yourself, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist in law. So it's not even worth going down that alley. That pseudo common law, we do not deal with that. We deal in legality only. And in legality, what we do is we become the collective sovereigns of the Crown Corporation of Canada. Together. We do not have sovereignty by ourselves. We only have it through the collective. It's the country that has the sovereignty, not the people themselves. Okay, so go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish, and then I'll step in.
Okay, here. So when it comes to that kind of sovereignty, what the document says is that we are the official heads of state. Okay. And we're exercising our civil and political rights. Legally, we're good there. And right now, it's so important because we are in a caretaker. We are falling right now under the Caretaker Convention. The minute that Trudeau called the election, we hold our rights in our hands. Remember this. Right now, we own our vote. And we should not give it away to an election. But they're going to try to force us, because I'm saying, well, even if 100 people go and vote, well, tough luck, we're still going to rule over you. And that's not right. The thing is we need to let them know that we will not stand for it, even if they've called an election and tried to rush through this and tried to, force vaccinate everybody and to do all these things. No, we can push back. We stand in our legal rights as the collective sovereigns of the Crown Corporation together. And then by standing together and sending that message out on the streets, they're going to hear it loud and clear. When you go and see a politician speak, you need to let them know that, hey, you want your rights before an election is called, before an election is had. We need to clean up this Constitution, put the people in power before the next election. End of story. You're either with it or you're not. It's the only chance we get to fix this before we lose everything we have. Because what they have in store for us, it's not life, it's
It's
not worth living.
it's not good, people, because if you think it's bad now, where it's going to go, this is just the icing on the cake. It's not the whole cake yet. um, Something else people are asking is, I can't sign it because I only have a smartphone. Well, it's created so that you can use your smartphone, any device that you can get internet on. You can sign the Convention of Consent. You can
Yeah.
also, people don't realize this, but across Canada, there's a whole library system through across Canada that has free computers. Go to your local library, use the computer there. It allows you to do that. So there's just a bunch of different ways. Use your computer at work. Use your computer. Like, it's not a website that is monitored that way. It's not, you're completely safe to be doing all that stuff. It doesn't download anything onto your computer. About the only thing that PDF filer or filler, a piece of software called PDF filler. If you don't already have that, most computers and phones already have it, so you don't even have to deal with it. But if you have an older device, or if you've removed it because of security reasons, you may have to reinstall that in order to fill it, because it needs that filler to recognize the fields in the form. And then other than that, you're good to go. And it's by
Yeah.
Adobe. It's not anything that's to be nefarious or worried about. And then you can always uninstall it when you're done. That's
Uh, yeah, Linda Mass, we've got tons of videos on YouTube. And if you look on our Facebook page, we've got tons of videos there too that explain it in French and in English. If you go to Le PowerShift on YouTube, France has tons of videos. We also have videos on our website. Just go to the video section, okay?
And we can start resharing those videos, and we can put those videos inside of the forum section of our website. Like I said, we are really trying to drive people to the website to start discussing on the forums, so that we don't keep getting inundated with all of these questions all the time. They're great. Don't get me wrong. They're great.
Yeah.
But we can actually have real discussion on the website. We can't have real discussion on Facebook or on YouTube or on whatever. On our website, however, we can have real discussion. We can start getting people excited and involved and wanting to get involved in their own community, to become the person that's at the hub, so to speak, in their own community, to get information out and to let people know and to do all of that. That's really what we want to do. We would love to be able to have mass protests across Canada that were about the power shift, but there's all of these other protests that are going on, and people are so reluctant to get involved as a result. And we're like, well, grab some signs and show up at the other protests with your signs, because you're there for your rights. Everybody's about lockdowns and all this other stuff.
Yeah, show them that you're smarter than they are.
You need to be about your rights, and we need to fix the problem that's causing all of this other stuff. You don't until we fix the problem that's causing all of this other stuff is going to keep happening. And that's just the brutal fact that people aren't waking up enough to yet. That you can be upset about what's happening right now, but the root cause is far worse. And if we don't fix the root cause.
Yeah. Now, Sandra, okay, I'm just people. Okay, the consent is a notice to the government that you want them gone. No, that doesn't say that. Okay.
No.
Please, we need to make sure that people understand what this says. We're not changing the governance at all. We can't, because then that would be a coup. We're staying in the legal side of things. We're just taking our rights the way we're supposed to be able to take them legally. And to say that we don't want the government, no, we still need a government, because by law, we get together collectively and we determine what kind of governance we're going to have, because the law states that at the international level, we need to have a governance system. However, it doesn't say that the government has to rule over us and has final say over the rest of our lives, the way they have done so now since 1922. Okay? So that whole representative democracy needs to be gone, because what happens is that system means that we give away all of our rights to them, but we have to change it to where Our rights always belong to us, and they have to ask us before they make drastic decisions. It comes back to us as the final decision makers and the Indigenous nations.
And something else, anybody aged 15 years and older that's a Canadian citizen and Indigenous person can sign. And
yeah,
it's not a petition. It's the first of its kind of anything anywhere in the world that unites the people. It's a document that people are signing to unite with each other. It's not a petition.
No, it's a legally binding contract between the Canadian citizens and Indigenous nations, or
the people that sign.
Yeah, who are the decision makers for this country? Because really, it all comes back to us. The government, they only get their power through our rights. They don't get their power anywhere else. They get it from us, and we're allowed to take it away.
So what this is doing is it's allowing us to still have elections. It's allowing us to do all of that stuff that already exists in our existing system. But what we do when we have elections is we do not give a politician our authority to decide for 4 years. We keep that. That's what this does. It allows us to keep the authority, our authority to decide, our right to self-determination. It allows us to keep that in between elections. And by keeping that, it allows us to then make those that we elect, or have a way to make those that we elect accountable in between elections. It's just, it doesn't take everything away and scrap it. What it does is it puts in place something that we should have had decades ago that was never given to us. And that is the right to hold anybody that we elect in any governance accountable in between elections. They cannot run without our authority anymore. Because they don't get our authority. We keep that. They get the right to work on our behalf for 4 years. That's it. We keep the authority to put them in there, to remove them. The political parties can't even do that. We do that.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that's about it, folks. We've gone an hour and 12 minutes.
We
have all of this information. We've got tons of videos, and we can't be repeating over and over, because right now there's Rhonda and I who handle the website, all the technical stuff, the emails, and then we writing those, and then trying to make connections with the lawyers, trying to make connections with the doctors, trying to look at strategies, trying to help lawyers in different court cases. And then we're trying to help people who are asking us for help throughout Canada, who have just been accosted since the 13th about being forced vaccinated. So we're trying to we're only two who do the actual fixing of the website. So if it goes down, please don't panic. It'll come back up. Okay.
Now, and before
we're not technicians. We are regular day-to-day people. We are not funded by anybody else other than our own pockets and the kind donations that people have given us, and the money we can make to keep us going through people joining the CPU, the Canadian People's Union, at the PowerShift.ca. So, we want to be able to make.
I want to say something as well. When people donate and when they join the Canadian People's Union, that money is all earmarked for things like the web hosting, for the software that allows us to do what we do, for the storefronts, because all of that is a monthly fee. All of those things are monthly fees, and every monthly fee that we have gets eaten up by the donations and all of that. We don't take a wage. We don't pay ourselves anything. We don't, that's why you do not see us traveling across the country is because we don't use donations that way. Everything goes right back into making this stronger for people. We do not use donations or the Canadian People's Union membership money for anything except to make the foundation of this stronger. That's it. That's all we do. And we have, and before you say, oh, I've asked to volunteer, and I've asked to do this, and I've asked to do that, we have had people in the past that we have brought on, trusting that they had our, that they were with us, and had our best, that we're part of the team and all that kind of stuff. And we have been hosed more times and than you can imagine. There are domain names that we would love to be able to use that we can't use because they've been hijacked by people that were helping us. So it's not that we're not trusting, but it's that there's certain things, there's so much that can be done that we need volunteers for. What we truly need are people on the ground, organizing
Door to
rallies,
door.
getting
Yeah.
stuff out there, all of that. And if you don't have enough to donate, literally use the PDFs at Staples. That's your donation. Seriously, folks, you do not have to physically give us money. You can just print our material and hand it out. That's a huge donation in and of itself. Your time and the 10 cents a copy to print stuff. That is huge, folks. That is huge. And then getting the posters, these types of things to take to rallies that you do go to. That's another huge component. If you don't have the finances to purchase them, we get it. Things are really tight. Like I'm self-employed, and I work contract jobs, job to job, the contract to contract to contract, because I fit all of this in between those contracts. So I get money's tight. I'm a single parent. Every penny I make goes to put food on my table and keep a roof over my head. So if you do not have finances, use these as a template and draw on a piece of the big poster boards. Use what we provide. Use it as a template. You don't have to spend money if you do not have it. We're not asking people to fund, to bankroll this whole thing. We're asking people to give what you can so that we can keep all of this running, and by all it running, so that we're not having to pay out of our pockets every month for every subscription.
Yeah. What we're asking really, Rhonda, and people need to understand this, that every single human being in Canada, it is their responsibility to participate in this if they want to keep their freedom.
That's exactly
Everybody
right.
has a job to do. You go door to door, do whatever you can. We provide you with everything, you run with it. Okay, get as many people to know as possible, because we have a very short window of opportunity where we are, they can't say we're overthrowing the government. There's none in there right now, other than under the caretaker convention, and they can't do whatever they want. So it's our time to make our move and to show them. When you go into the streets, let them know. When you go and listen to them, when you see them, promoting themselves, let them know you will be elected once we have our rights recognized in the Constitution. End of story.
And the only person that has any liability in all of this, like anybody who's signing, anybody who takes part in our actions, the only person that has any liability or risk in any of this is the person that's sitting right beside me. That direction, like whatever direction. Nicole. She's the only person that has any personal risk in this, because she is the CEO of the Canadian People's Union. That's it. That's the only person that has any liability, chance of liability, any chance of risk.
Well, there's me, Barb Garlow, and Dennis.
Yes, there's the three that sit on the board. That's it. That's it. And it's been designed this way, folks, so that all of us can work together safely and legally across Canada with no risk. That's because the risk is completely by the CEO and the board of the Canadian People's Union. I'm not even on the board of the union.
Yeah.
When you're a member of the Canadian People's Union, you're not at risk because you're not on the board.
Yeah. So we need to end the coup d'etat that has been running since 1982. Actually 1931, but we'll go from 1982 because we can play with that, and legally in the UK. So we need your support. We need you to want your freedom, to be recognized as a shareholder in Canada instead of just a taxpayer with no rights, instead of just a human being with rights that the government decides they can take away from you. And you need to stand up for the rights of your children and their future. And like Rhonda says, the next generations to come. And it's not just the 7, it's the next 1,000, whatever, you know. So please, this is your time to shine. And if we drop the ball, it's game over. And I will not rest until we win. So we have a chance to win. It all depends on every single Canadian citizen to do their part. Without everybody doing their part, we will not win this. It's up to you. The revolution is now. The revolution is in your hands. So see us again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with Alain Deneau on the revolution. Okay?
I'm going to warn you now. He is French. So I don't know how much of it's going to be in English, but we will have subtitles that will, now the subtitles will come in the language that's being spoken at the time. Once the video, the live is over and it's uploaded to Facebook properly, the video, the subtitle should come in the language of your choice. And he does speak both languages, and he does so very well, but it's whatever language he's speaking is how it's going to go tomorrow. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's time for Canadians to finally shine, to put this governance and this planet straight, back in its rightful position in the hands of the people once and for all. We can clean this up. We can do it now. We have time if everybody does their jobs. So it's time for the Indigenous nations and Canadians to come together, each on between the two-row constitution, and make this constitution work for everybody. So good night. Thank you, everybody. And
join us at our website. And join us at our website, the PowerShift.ca, LaPowerShift.ca. Join us at the website. It's yes, and where we need to be.
Yes, and scream to the top of your lungs to the government and all the politicians and everybody that you are power shifting, and the people will be in the driver's seat, not the corporations. Okay, so we'll leave that at that.
Everybody.
Good night. So I need to just do this here, and we'll see.